Today is October 19th, 2021. This is the Harry Thomas Show. The website's located at harrythomas.info and harrythomasshow.com. I'm your host, Harry Thomas. I've got this Peter Schiff. Stock up now. Inflation could get very ugly. Very ugly. This is by Zero Hedge. Come out Monday. The price of pretty much everything is rising. The CPI for September came in above expectations with a month on month increase of 0.4%. Peter Schiff appeared on Unfiltered with Dan Bongino to talk about inflation in Joe Biden's America. Peter said you should stock up now because things could get ugly very quickly.
The Biden administration's inflation crisis is a ticking time bomb. The supply chain's a mess, and the cost of everything from bacon to car rentals is through the roof. And Congress just wants to print trillions of dollars and pump it into the economy. So how do we regain control of this mess? Joining me now is Euro Pacific Capital's chief economist and global strategist, Peter Schiff. Peter, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Peter, I follow your work. You have been warning about the dangers of inflation for eons now. Wages are not rising as fast as inflation. So it's pretty simple math, Peter. If your wages are going up, say, 2%, and inflation is 3 to 5%, you're losing money. I mean, sooner or later, we're all going to be eating cat food if this continues.
Well, that's generally the trend with inflation, is the price of labor never keeps up with the price of stuff. But the real problem is that immediately after COVID, a lot of Americans stopped working. But unfortunately, they didn't reduce their spending because the government made the mistake of replacing the incomes they lost with new money that the Federal Reserve was printing. So we were making fewer things to buy, but everybody had more stuff, more money to buy stuff. And so prices just went ballistic, and they're going to keep going up.
Peter, do you have any tips for the regular consumer, the middle-class American family out there working their butt off to try to, listen, rich guys, they have fancy accountants, they have hedge mechanisms against this. But what does the middle-class family do to avoid this financial apocalypse of inflation coming? How do they handle it?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a tax. So when the Biden administration says they're not taxing the people that make less than $400,000, they're hitting them with this huge inflation tax. But one way that the average American can try to avoid it is to stock up now. Buy the things that you think you may need a year from now, 2 years from now. Buy it now, especially the stuff that's non-perishable, because in the future, stuff is going to be even in shorter supply than it is now, but the prices are going to be much higher. So why wait for the prices to go up? Just buy the stuff you need now while it's available and a lot less expensive than it's going to be pretty soon.
And that is a good point that Peter Schiff makes because we seen that in the first lockdowns is the supply chain got interrupted and there was shortages in everything. And we're watching as they were printing that money. And I told people, I said, this money isn't for free. We're going to be paying higher prices on everything. And gas prices are up, fuel prices to heat your homes is up, everything is up, food, everything is all rising to unprecedented levels. And so, Peter Schiff is right. This is a tax on the American people. This is an attack on the American economy. You can't just go printing money out of nothing and expect not to pay for it somewhere down along the road. But what I'm saying is these globalists are not planning on paying this back. They're not planning on paying back all these pension funds and all this. They're culling the herd. This is a depopulation plan according to the Georgia Guidestones. And this is a YouTube video, so I'm going to be very careful what I say and tiptoe around the censors here. But you could see exactly how they're putting this in. They've had planned inoculations, planned sterilization programs, planned, the culling of the third world populations for years. What we're talking about here is more than mass genocide. We're talking here is crimes against humanity. We're talking about totally getting rid of whole populations of people. See, what they want is a slave class and their elite class. There's no room for the middle class anymore. They've been squeezing the middle class out for decades now. And I've been talking about it, and a lot of the economists have been talking about it. It's mathematically impossible to pay back all these derivatives that they've been collecting over the years. And these derivatives is weird because this SU professor from Syracuse University was telling me about it. And he was just like, there's this column that you just move, whatever you don't want to show up in the red, you just move into this derivatives column. And we're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars being moved into these derivative columns that aren't being paid back. But the thing is it's devaluing our labor. It's devaluing our products. It's devaluing our overall product, our output, our national product output, and it's bringing our cost of living up. And it's making us our standard of living go down. So what we're really living in is a third world country being propped up by false bubbles that they're going to pop. And while they're offshore in their and billion-dollar mansions, culling the earth with these bioweapons and these psychological warfare that they're putting on the people to make us all suspicious of each other. See, it's not the left versus the right; it's the state versus you. These people on the left and right have gotten us to where we are today. They're working together with the special interests and the corporate oligarchs to get us exactly into position where we are today, and to get them in the position of where they are today to squeeze out the small mom and pop stores so that their big global corporate oligarchs can take over. You're talking about the Amazons of the world and the Walmarts of the world and the IBMs of the world and the Microsofts of the world. And this is not by accident. This is by design. This is a global takeover by design. Globalism isn't any good for our sovereignty. And if we want to keep control of our country and ourselves and our well being out of internationalist control, then we need to keep our sovereignty. We need to keep our Bill of Rights, our constitutions, our declarations of independence, and we need to keep these trade agreements in our interest and do exactly what needs to be done is stand up to these international global tyrants like China and these other ones who don't have our interests at hand. In fact, the ones leading our so-called leaders of our country don't have our interest at hand at all. And all they do are selling us down the river. So I want to let you know that there is some uncensored material over at bitchute.com, the Real Harry Thomas Show. I'm going to be putting out a podcast later. Obviously, you could tell I'm in the hospital, having a few surgeries done, trying to get my well-being together. But this stuff is just very important. The Davos group just put out, that they're merging the vaccine passport with the carbon tax ID. So it's all going to be one thing. It's the mark of the beast. In order to buy and sell, you're going to have these vaccine mandates. It's all merged into one. It's all for your own good. It's all for the betterment of humanity. They sent William Shatner up into space, and he comes back all freaked out, going, "We're all going to die within 10 years if we don't take care of this global calamity." So without going any farther into that stuff here on YouTube, what I talked about here on this YouTube channel before is get yourself prepared. and get your family prepared. Stock up on water and unperishable foods, canned goods, stuff like that. Put some medicines away. Get yourself you know, to-go bags. And you can't pack them like you're going on a family vacation. You got to pack them like cooking supplies, medical and first aid supplies, tools, things that you need to build shelter, to have food and fire, things that you're gonna, and also take it a step farther. Get involved with your family and your friends and build some communities that you can trust, not zombie like things when people start getting hungry and desperate, where they turn to cannibalism and everything else. Because once these supply chains go down in these lockdowns, it can get very, very ugly. And Peter Schiff warned us about this. So get to the websites. I'm going to have to keep these videos short, because these nurses and stuff, they come in here messing around with stuff all the time. So I'm trying to do shows in between all that stuff. And so I've been here about a week and a half. I'm going to probably be here for a few more weeks. I got another surgery tomorrow. I've already had 2. So I'm trying to get, I've got screws and stuff in my legs, and I got bone infection going on in my leg, trying to keep my leg going, diabetic and stuff. But my concern is that, instead of hundreds of people showing up at these protests, there should be thousands. The American public seems to be lulled into a hypnotic state of unawareness, or an apathetic view of, we're just going to go along with this culling of the herd. And these people are maniacs. They're psychotic. They want 80-90% of the population eliminated, and they want to merge with technology. They think they're going to live forever that way. And if you think you're going to make the cut on these population reduction things, forget about it. Because what Shatner was talking about with this over 10 years, we're talking about billions of people off the planet. So get to the websites, harrythomas.info. Get to the website, harrythomasshow.com. Get involved, because together we will make a difference. Thank you for listening.